I, a female teen, have a stepbrother, Dean, younger teen. We are not close at all. When I was 7, it was discovered my dad had an affair with another woman, and Dean was the result of the affair. My mother filed for divorce, but due to her not having a large enough income or savings, my dad ended up having custody of me, with me seeing my mom twice a month. After the divorce, my dad married his affair partner, Kim. My mother moved to the UK a few years ago and married Richard. I have since visited her a few times and get along with Richard really well, along with his children. As they're older and have moved out, my mother suggested that I move to the UK and live with her after my next birthday. According to the custody agreement, that's when I can choose who I want to live with so I can go to school here. I have agreed, and my mother's booked me tickets for this month to fly over. My dad wasn't happy with it, but I didn't pay much attention, as I was feeling miserable with him, Kim, and Dean. Dean would constantly say mean things about me, or mostly about my mom, and my dad or Kim would never step up to help. My dad and Kim have decided to send Dean to the UK too, and make him live with me and my mother so she can find a school for him there. However, they hadn't told my mother about that, so she had no idea. I was flying to my mother 2 weeks ago. As my mother booked the ticket for me, Dean and I were sitting separately on the plane and registered separately too. We were meant to have 2 changes. However, as the plane was very late, we only had a little time between the first change. On my way out of the plane, I tapped him on the shoulder and reminded him of the change and how little time we had between them, but he brushed me off and carried on playing on his handheld, so I carried on walking. After I landed in the UK, about 10 hours of traveling in total, and my mother met me, she looked concerned and informed me that my dad called her angry and blamed me for abandoning Dean in a different country. I've told my mother what happened, so she doesn't blame me, but my dad, Kim, and Dean are calling me an idiot, as my dad had to take time off work and apply for an emergency visa to go and get him home. So am I the idiot for abandoning my stepbrother on a plane? Edit. Dean has behavior problems that are ignored by both my dad and Kim, and it's usually me or one set of grandparents looking after him. I had been flying to see my mom alone since I was 12 and had missed connection flights due to the planes being late. I'm not sure if the rules were different then, but I had no issues apart from global issue when it came to visitation and staying with my mom with a tourist visa. All I had to have with me was a passport with the visa, a letter from my dad, and my mom's sponsorship letter, confirmation of where I was staying, proof that my mom had enough finances to support me while I stayed with her, and return tickets. Second, I assume my stepbrother has a tourist visa to enter the country, but I can't be certain. I only saw the paperwork from my dad and Kim allowing him to travel. I haven't seen his passport or know what plan my dad and Kim had to let him get into the country, as neither Dean nor my dad shared it with me. All I know is that my mother was unaware of Dean coming at all, and it was never discussed with her. If anything else was organized for him, my dad hadn't told us about it. Your father and his partner are sending their child to another country to live with 2 strangers as a surprise? What the bibbidi-bobbidi heck? And somewhere along the line, he gets left alone in some random country? What? My brain hurts. Not the idiot, and the sheer audacity of your dad to send his affair kid to live with your mom just because he wanted to is insane. Dean is their child and their responsibility, behavior problems or not. They can't just post him off to another country to live willy-nilly to stay with adult strangers, especially without even discussing it with them first. Unless I'm missing some crucial piece of information, your dad is a massive idiot for this alone. Am I right that your dad has parentified you and used you and the grands to raise Dean? And decided to send Dean with you to the UK because they didn't want to deal with him without you? He and his wife are massive idiots. I guess I have some sympathy for Dean, given that he has such crappy parents. But that's not your problem, nor is it your fault. Go and enjoy your new life in the UK. Context. My wife, 29, always makes the kids Halloween costumes. We have 3 kids, a female kindergartner, a male preteen, and a male tween. She did not have a fantastic childhood, and so she's constantly trying to make sure our kids do. She home makes every birthday cake, DIYs the birthday decorations, makes pajamas for every holiday, and always makes the Halloween costumes. She also does these themed monthly movie nights where she creates this whole scene. For example, this month was Coraline. She made custom dolls for each kid, a welcome home cake, and the whole food spread. This is all great, but the problem is she expects me to help. All our kids are in activities. We both have full-time careers, and I believe she stretches herself thin trying to do all of this and also expects me to. We have the money to just go out and buy stuff, so I don't get why we have to do so much. She says these are the things the kids will remember. Anyway, this all came to a head as I've been out of town for most of the month for work, so she's had to shoulder the full responsibility of the kids. This caused her to be behind in making the costumes, and she was stressed. She was asking me if I'd be able to create one of the costumes for her. She has the supplies and can walk me through it. The problem is I just don't feel like it. I told her we should just go get a cheap costume. It's not a big deal. Well, she refused, and she was up all night finishing these costumes. I told her this morning that they looked awesome, and she just rolled her eyes. She was making coffee, and I'd asked if she'd make me a cup, and she replied, "Go buy one." She's been distant and cold. I was talking to my coworker, and he called me out, saying my wife is right. My kids will remember the effort my wife put in, and they'll also remember how hard I made it for her. Now I'm feeling off like maybe I am the idiot, but at the same time, I usually do help a bit. I was thinking this one time wouldn't be a big deal since we were both tired. So, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. I was on the fence until the "I don't feel like it" and the coffee comment. I mean, really, guy? You were away for a month and she had to deal with the kids herself? Then she asked for help, and rather than you guys ordering food, putting some music on, and having a night together finishing the costumes, you decided it wasn't worth the effort. The worst part was the audacity of asking her to pour or make you a coffee the following morning when you knew she'd been up all night stressing. It's about making things work and being there when we see our partner struggling, including when we're burnt out. You could have had a nice night with your missus, and you fudged it. Hey, she might be a bit over the top when it comes to going the extra mile for your kids, but isn't that what makes it magical? As someone who grew up with a crappy childhood, I applaud her efforts. It was the coffee that was the chef's kiss in this situation. I actually laughed out loud when I read that. That is a really good quip from the wife. She's behind because she's been working a full-time career and parenting your kids by herself for a whole month without any of your help. And she asks you to help with one thing, and you complain because you're tired? Really? The fact your coworker is acting as a better husband than you should be scary for you. Update. Okay, I'm the idiot. I'll apologize and see if she needs help with anything else. However, I'm positive half the parents commenting don't do these things and still think they're doing a great job. My thing is, I had a fantastic childhood. I love my mom and appreciate everything she did, and she did none of this. I think my wife is putting some of her own wants first. She loves magic, she loves imagination, and she wants the kids almost to feel like they're in a movie, but they're not, and that's okay. I've been the sole breadwinner for my family since the beginning. I met my wife at university, and she graduated, but she decided to be a stay-at-home mom. She worked for a few years until we got married, and she got pregnant. She worked until 2 months before our son was born, but never returned to the workforce. We have raised 3 kids together as a team. We have now managed to get the last one out of university and out of the house. My wife now spends her days gardening, walking our dogs, and taking care of the house. Every weekend, she takes her parents grocery shopping. She's been doing that for 5 years. My parents are still very independent and do not require my physical help. She also subsidizes her parents' grocery bill to the tune of $400 to $500 a month. I know prices have gone nuts and they're good people, and it doesn't affect our budget, so I don't care. My mom recently told me that my dad's been putting off some dental work he needs because it's too expensive, even with their insurance. I gave them the money. Once again, it's not a big bite out of our savings and will not affect our budget. My wife had a problem with me gifting my parents the money. I told her to relax and that it wasn't a big deal. She says it is a big deal and that we should have discussed it first. I asked her when we discussed buying our parents groceries or paying for her parents to come on vacation with us. She got upset and said she didn't realize I was keeping score. I said I hadn't been until she brought up the money. She thinks it's different. I don't think it is. Am I the idiot for telling my wife not to worry about it when I gave my parents $10,000 for some dental work my dad needed? Normally, I'd say you are the idiot for not discussing major expenditures with your partner. However, between $500 a month in groceries for years and paying for their vacation, she's easily spent that amount without asking you. So no, not the idiot. She's a hypocrite. So she's been subsidizing her parents' groceries for 5 years now? Cool. So that's about 60 months. Even if you take the lower number of $500 a month, that's about $24,000. Maybe it's my lower income, but subsidizing $400 for 2 people seems insane. We spend $400 monthly on food for my wife and me, formula and baby food and toiletries. And that is at today's insane prices. How much groceries could an elderly couple possibly need that it's costing them $400 to $500? Anyway, your dad's dental problems will only worsen if not treated, and then it'll cost a lot more. Everyone's the idiot here. It isn't just your money, even though you earned it. Where money's going should be discussed, regardless of who is spending it and the amount spent. There's a difference between keeping track and keeping score. Keeping track keeps the budget balanced and the financial goals in sight for all parties. Keeping score and using the numbers to justify withholding information is an idiot move. Did you agree to your wife being a stay-at-home mom/stay-at-home woman? Do you resent her for not working? Why weren't the groceries and vacations for her parents ever discussed? It might be time for some honest discussions and some therapy. So this weekend is my daughter's teen homecoming dance at her school. She couldn't go to her freshman or sophomore year, and she just wanted to go really bad. So I, 38 female, bought her a ticket this year. She has a dress, all of that. But I checked her grades today, and she's failing one of her classes with about 10 missing assignments. Now I've given her so many chances to fix her grade in this one class. I've tried everything. I got her multiple tutors, and she didn't like any of them. I tried taking her phone, and I even tried telling her cat we recently took in from the street would be rehomed if she didn't pull it together. But still, no change. So I told her she wasn't going to homecoming, and she just lost it. She ran up to her room crying and slammed her door. Later, when she returned, she refused to talk to me and eat her dinner. She was extremely rude to her father and siblings, and when I called her out on it and asked her what her problem was, she started yelling at me about how all I do is take away her chance to have fun and a normal social life. I thought she was overreacting quite a bit, but now I'm having second thoughts. Am I the idiot for not letting my daughter go to homecoming? You are the idiot. I even tried telling her cat that we recently took in from the street was going to be rehomed if she didn't pull it together. Is that even remotely motivating? If you're horrible to your kid, no, they will not do particularly well in school. Personally, I wouldn't threaten and punish a kid for failing a class. I'd focus on the why. Why this class? Why don't the tutors work? What is the issue? Is this class super important, or is it one she can drop at some point? Take away an important social event like homecoming, and you're also taking away some of that motivation to attend school. Let's be honest, most of us only enjoyed school because of our friends. Same. I remember when I was in school, I had a friend who once got a B+ in one subject and an A+ in all the others, and her parents grounded her. It was really sad. Heck, if I got all B's and even a C here and there, my parents would buy me ice cream. My father actually told me once, You have to study and learn the basics, but have fun because you won't use all of this, and it'll get worse later. LOL. My parents were disappointed in me when I brought home the equivalent of an A because a classmate who was a genius in math scored 2 points higher. I kid you not, they kept being disappointed in me, and even when I had the top score, their reply was, "Yeah, only because that guy was sick." Gotta love these parents. No contact for years has been the best. Wow, OP, your parenting is messed up, and all kinds of emotional trauma is waiting to happen right there. Instead of getting to the root of the problem, you've thrown punishments at her? It's not an effective strategy. You're taking away a big moment for her. You can't expect sunshine and fun times from her. When your daughter eventually stops talking to you, look back at the emotional abuse you're inflicting on her. Don't be surprised that she goes no contact when she turns 18. I, 30 female, am engaged to my fiance, 37 male. We're both close to our families. His mother had 3 boys and never had a daughter. When my fiance's brother was getting married, she was not involved in any part of the wedding planning. She never complained or said anything, but also would have enjoyed it. I'm going to pick out my dress this weekend. I was excited and talked to her about it while we were at my in-laws' house on Saturday. I then told her it would mean a lot to me if she came with me. She got teary-eyed and agreed to come. I was so excited to share this moment with my family and the woman who means the most to my fiance. I was talking to my mother on Sunday, and we were talking about the excitement of going to pick out my dress this weekend. I mentioned I was bringing her, my mom, my grandmother, my sister, my godmothers, my stepmother, and my mother-in-law. My mom asked why I was bringing my mother-in-law, and I explained I wanted her to enjoy the moment with us and start making memories together since we'd be family. My mom said she didn't want her to come since she felt like she'd take away from a moment between her and me. I assured her that wouldn't happen. We argued about it back and forth, and this is where I might be the idiot. I said if something petty will ruin your day or my day, you don't have to go. Then she said, well, who's going to help you get it on and have those moments with you? And I said, any other female figure in my life who's going will do just fine. She got upset and I regretted saying it. I did try apologizing, but she's not responding. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Shopping for wedding dresses is already stressful. You should be able to choose who it would be with you. And also, your mother's making the moment that's supposed to be completely about you, about her. It's your moment, not hers. I did the same thing with my mother-in-law, who only had boys and never had this opportunity, despite all sons being married. Everyone had fun. There's not a finite amount of joy in life. You don't run out. Share that stuff around. Agree. I'm surprised your mom has a problem with your mother-in-law coming and not your stepmother. It is so lovely of you to include your mother-in-law. I included my mother-in-law, and it only made the moment more special. She didn't overstep or try to take anything from the other women present. When I found my wedding dress and veil, my mother-in-law was the third person I hugged, and we both had tears in our eyes. It was special. Years later, I'm glad I included her.